Alcohol, Tobacco, and Friends. I am your host, Bill McMorris from the Washington Free Beacon, filling in for some guy from Red State. We all forget his name. I am joined today Joseph Cunningham and David Rutz, also of the Free Beacon, once again dominating the attendance at this show. Uh, so let's kick it off. There's obviously a debate tonight, so we'll try to make it quick and depressing. The type of slow, quick, instant, painless death that California is now recommending for its terminal patients. Terminal patients. What do you think about the GOP, specifically Reince Priebus's tenure and handling of the debates?
Who'd you actually address that to? Because in record time, your connection outside has completely gone to crap. So congratulations.
All right. Well, then you talk.
Okay. So let's see. The GOP is absolutely screwed. It dies in one of two ways. Donald Trump gets the nomination, or Donald Trump goes into the convention with the most votes, and then the GOP decides not to give him the nomination. That's how the GOP dies. So congratulations, everybody. We are witnessing the end of an era. Thank God, because this era has been annoying as hell, especially the last, 6 months. For more on annoying things, let's hand it over to Neil Dewing.
I don't know what you're talking about there, Joe. I'm never annoying. Always bring insightful commentary to everything.
Why are you assuming I'm talking about you? Maybe I was going to let you lead in with Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz, that guy. I'm not a fan, and I think I've made my position on Ted Cruz known over the last few years. I think he's an underhanded, backstabbing slime ball. He really has a poor character, and apparently those are the things you need to possess in order to place second to Donald Trump in the Republican nomination. So, if that oily Count Chocula-looking asshole actually does manage to pull off a win against Donald Trump, I will be pleasantly surprised. But in terms of the general state of the GOP, things aren't looking so great. The Trump issue, of course, but we also we have a looming split coming very quickly for us. It's people like me who tend to side more with the establishment versus the sort of loud roughnecks who are currently propelling Donald Trump to victory. There's a lot of conflict coming. It's not over yet. It's only going to get worse. And that's what I think about the GOP.
All right, so as we have just gotten done following Bill McMorris through his house on his birthday tour of the home, Neil, I want to ask you two follow-up questions real quick. First of all, this rumor that's going around political circles that Cruz is going to ask people to vote for Rubio on Tuesday, and then Rubio drops out of the race on Wednesday. And secondly, there is a poll that came out from California. I can't exactly remember where it's from because I haven't paid attention to anything today because Louisiana's been drowning in torrential rain. But a poll that shows that Trump's lead in California is rapidly dwindling. That could give your favorite candidate, Ted Cruz, a pretty big edge if Rubio drops out and if he can actually come within striking distance in California. What say you?
Well, those aren't the Ted Cruz rumors that I've been hearing, but I think it makes perfect strategic sense for Cruz to do that, and Rubio is certainly looking very, very much like he's on the way out. Personally, I think that he should stay in until the Florida primary, win, lose, or whatever, just because I don't believe in the inevitability of polling. But there's a very, very good argument to be made that he is potentially standing in the way of the goal of denying Donald Trump the nomination. But I don't really think that's the case, not yet. So yeah, as far as the Florida thing, I think Rubio should stay in. You shouldn't listen to those rumors about Cruz. And as far as California, I don't care what California does, and so I have no earthly idea what their situation is over there. I expect it to go to Trump.
All right, now, Bill, you are officially the backup host of this show.
No, I'm taking it back.
So, Bill, how do you feel about running the show from here on out?
I got this. Thank you for taking over. I apologize for absolutely nothing. That cigarette was worth whatever freeze-ups and damage it did to the show's illustrious reputation. David Rutz, to you, what do you expect from Rubio tonight? I mean, it's a chicken and egg situation. Jeb was on the way out and decided to take parting shots. Rubio took the shots at Trump and plummeted from the polls the same way that Perry and Jindal did as well. Do you think he doubles down on that strategy?
No. If you listen to him actually talk yesterday, in fact, I don't think you could have avoided the story today about him saying that he actually regretted getting kind of juvenile and doing the kind of lower attacks. So I think we'll see a softer tone from him. I think that he's caring about his reputation with the party at this point. He knows that it's over. I mean, Rubio doesn't have a prayer, get a nomination, and almost 100% sure he's going to lose Florida badly. But I think it is important that he kind of goes out with dignity because he does want to have a future in the party. So I think it's important to look more statesman-like tonight. He's had a lot of very good debates. I think he's had 2 bad ones, like last week and the one with Chris Christie, and those have left the biggest stain. But generally, he's been one of the better debaters of this cycle. So I think we'll see a return to form from him. I think he'll hit Trump hard, but do it in a way that's more respectable and not so juvenile. And I think it'll be a much more measured tone of debate overall tonight from everybody. I think we'll see more barbs from Cruz more than anything else, and I could see Rubio kind of helping tag team him. But I don't think there's any way we'll see anything as absurdly juvenile and childish like we saw last Thursday on Fox.
Yeah, that was the worst debate I've ever seen.
That's the worst one I've ever seen by a wide margin. It was embarrassing.
Yeah. It was befitting for But
are we
12-year-old girl in the cafeteria?
Yeah. But are we seriously saying that's the worst debate we've seen? I mean, because we've had Donald Trump this entire time, you guys.
No, just in terms. I don't think it was just Rubio lowering himself.
No, it wasn't. It was Trump too. I mean, that was Trump at his most mean-spirited, nasty, childish, yelling. He
dick measuring contest.
Well,
yeah, literally had a dick measuring contest.
That was the tactic, as I understand it, was instigate a fight and get provoke Trump to that sort of reaction, showing his temperamental nature and that sort of thing. Now, did it backfire for Rubio? It appears to have done so, but I think it did show people that side of Trump. So in that sense, I think it was valuable. But yeah, when they write the Game Change book, I think that's going to be a whole chapter, is Rubio going negative.
Yeah, is it alright if I cut him real quick?
Absolutely, dude.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure I'm not
interrupt me in the middle of the sentence if I'm saying something exceedingly stupid, please.
No, well, I was going to say is that
go full Trump. Just interrupt.
I agree with you in the sense that I think Rubio unknowingly hurt himself. I don't think he meant to do a murder-suicide, but he did hurt Trump, and in a way, I think by unwittingly was a good soldier for the party to a certain extent. Now, obviously, he wanted to help Marco Rubio and not Ted Cruz in that situation, but I think it did hurt Trump a bit, and we saw the results last weekend. Cruz had strong showings in states that I think Trump hoped he would win. So I think in that sense that Rubio was valuable. And I'll say one thing really quick too about the whole Rubio's juvenile turn and everything. The media throat clearing and hand wringing about Rubio's tone is maybe one of the times I've really wanted to take my computer and throw it out the window. Rubio pointed this out himself. How many times did they go into Marco Rubio rallies during the last 6 months on TV? I would know because I have to watch that all day. Pretty much zero. When Rubio was going juvenile and making fun of Trump's hands and his sweat and his sweat mustache, they were cutting in. It was must-see TV. So the press could kind of kiss my butt in terms of complaining oh, he lowered the discourse. This is beneath us. When as soon as Rubio did that, that's when they went flooding to him with their coverage. It's absolutely ridiculous.
When they give Donald Trump airtime every single morning to say whatever he wants to say, I mean, you really have no credibility to make a tone argument.
Thank you. I agree.
And David, just so you know, speaking of lowering discourse, you don't have to say kiss my butt. You can actually say kiss my ass. This is legit a show called the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Friends. Nobody needs to censor themselves. But I do want to point out something. You can see it.
I'm just so darn mad.
You can see it over David's shoulder, and I'm actually going to blow it up here real quick. That is a dartboard with Bernie Sanders' face on it. Now, what I want to know is who are the communists that are missing him? Because that is embarrassing.
Well, no, we were playing cricket. That's obviously going for the 17. The 18 was a success, and going for the 15. Cricket's a superior game.
Yeah, this person had a good board, so yeah, I don't think it can,
The Hillary campaign sent that to us.
And we've lost Bill. Oh wait, no, he's back.
So
all we know is that the Hillary campaign sent
that. Joe, shifting over to you, and I think David brought up a valid point that Rubio was actually the last person to engage Trump. If you look back to his first debates, and I don't think it would be a stretch to say he flat out won the first 3 debates. He didn't engage a Trump question once. When it was asked of him, he always directed back to policy. He stayed on message, and I praised him on this show for that strategy because it seemed like, hey, I'll be a statesman, and if I don't engage Trump, then voters will see I'm an adult in the room despite my young looks. And I thought that was a good strategy, and the media refused to cover it. So of course, well, if that's not the game the media wants, I'll give the media what it wants.
Yeah.
And hopefully they'll stay tuned. But the backfiring of it all was he goes from making hand jokes, and then he would parlay into his policy questions again, and all of a sudden the media would cut away and do an analysis of how effective his hand jokes were. So it was kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation.
Yeah.
Now, Joe, what do you think about the people flooding to Cruz now? It seems like his strategy of keeping Trump at an arm's length distance but not hitting him until late has paid off, because you have Fiorina, you have Marco Rubio's best friend, endorsing Cruz this week. But do you of Cruz's strategy?
From a standpoint of are we really going to not attack the most unconservative guy in the race that isn't John Kasich? Are we really going to let him slide? On that, I was really upset. But yeah, the strategy itself may have worked out in the end. And I think going back to what we were talking about the last debate, whether or not he meant to, Rubio more or less fell on his for the sake of the party. I don't think he intended to, given how his pride has kind of gotten in the way of him really doing anything in terms of affecting the race now that it's pretty clear that he's out, and we'll see Wednesday if he does. But I think Rubio's line of attack, hitting Trump low, making Trump defend that while Cruz could hit him high, really ended up being overall, Cruz has been benefiting. And I think to the point of standing, being the adult in the room, John Kasich's been doing that the whole time, and John Kasich fell into 3rd place in Michigan. So I don't think being the adult in the room is not something that's going to work out for the rest of this time. Now, Kasich's going to continue to do it, but Kasich is also an asshole who is using Jesus as his platform to expand Obamacare.
Yeah, going off that, yeah, I would just go off that real quick and say, I don't think it's necessarily Cruz's strategy. I think it's that he and Trump are going to be the last two standing because of the two that the Republican Party main leaders hate the most, and thus, therefore, the fired-up base likes the best in this race. I don't think it's necessarily a question of Cruz's strategy or anything like that. I think Cruz is just kind of guaranteeing that he'll be a very strong contender for 2nd place when this is all over. I think that's all he's got himself.
But unattached Trump voters flock to by not insulting him, by not insulting the followers until yesterday, calling them breakaways from Trump. They all flocked to Cruz, and it was because Cruz was with them on immigration, but it's also because he didn't he did do the kiss ass, kissing Donald Trump's ass, refusing to hit him until it counted. So, Brent, you there? All right, sweet.
I'm here.
Brent, the
Brent, just go. Bill froze again.
really?
Yes,
Yes.
we heard immigration, cruise, and balls, and we have no idea what any of those words meant. So, Brent, just start talking.
Well, I'm late. I'm underdressed. I'm basically Caleb Howell for the night. Yes, Cruz. Yeah. Listen, I think Trump's got this thing sewn up. I'm fatalistic that way. I don't think anybody's going to really get all that near him. There was a brief window where the unity ticket might have been able to save us all. That time has passed. We've got already about I was checking the statistics today. About 1.5 million early and absentee votes have already been sent in Florida. So even if Rubio, did the thing tonight where he dropped out and endorsed Cruz, it's not going to matter. A good portion of the votes are in. Like I said, we got 1.5 million already in. There's only 12 million registered voters total in the state of Florida. So we're going to have a huge turnout. I think that I think the huge turnout benefits Trump. I think he's going to end up in the high 30s. I think Rubio is going to end up into the mid-high 20s, and Cruz somewhere in the teens. And I think Rubio will probably drop out after Florida, and it won't matter because Trump's going to have a 200 delegate lead at that point.
Now, I don't know the exact statistics on this, and being with the decision desk, you may know this a little bit better than me. But I've heard that a very significant number of the early vote of the total voters in Florida have turned out for early vote. But what difference would it make Election Day if, say, Rubio on the stage tonight said, "Thank you for letting me in this debate, and by the way, I'm endorsing Ted Cruz"?
I have heard that obviously we're not getting any real results or returns. I have heard that a large portion of this early and absentee votes, those ballots are going to Rubio, that he's doing very well. I have a feeling that it wouldn't make much difference because I think all of Rubio's supporters are coming out early. I'm not a Rubio guy. I'd far prefer him to win Florida over Trump, if nothing else, just to deny Trump those 99 delegates. But I think we've passed that point of no return. Early voting in Florida started like 2 weeks ago, and at that point Rubio's candidacy was still much more viable than it is now. So I don't think it would make much difference at this point. I think Florida is Trump's to have at this point.
You know what I found silly, and if I'm back, awesome. If not, Joe, keep talking. But my in-laws are from Florida, and Rubio's biggest hurdle there is the fact that he is a native son. They're just like, oh, he's a kid, so we're voting Cruz, not knowing that Cruz is literally the same age as Rubio, and has less legislative experience and leadership experience than Rubio has. But I think it's worked against him. It's Jesus going back to Nazareth, for lack of a better analogy.
I mean, you're
not a prophet at home because they know you. They're just like, oh, that's the kid who ran for city council back in 2001. So I think he got hurt there. In terms of the only good news that happened this week, and David, this will go to you. The only good news for Marco Rubio's campaign is that it looks like they're going to keep John Kasich off the ballot in Pennsylvania. John Kasich does not have enough signatures to get onto the ballot and is now trying to argue a technical error to keep his name on there. Do you think that would actually make a difference?
I mean, I don't really think so. I can't, honestly, I'm not really familiar with the Pennsylvania polls. I'm assuming that Trump's doing pretty well there, right?
I'm aware of none, but it seems like a natural place for him to generate turnout because of Western Pennsylvania and the blue-collar white vote there.
Yeah, exactly. So not enough for Kasich either. I don't know. I guess I feel like that would just help Trump because I think that anyone who would have been going for Kasich is not going to spring for Rubio or Cruz in that kind of a state. So I would imagine that Is that a winner-take-all state also, or is that like a? I know I sound so informed here.
Yeah, no. Correct me if I'm wrong, but everything is a winner-take-all starting on Tuesday. It's post March 15th. Everything's winner-take-all.
Strange rules. Yeah, that doesn't sound good. It sounds. I feel like anywhere, once this gets to a one-on-one fight between Trump and Cruz, I feel that's what makes it so difficult. Everyone's got this kind of fictional math in their head that the numbers will magically all jump behind Ted Cruz, and he'll match up so well with Trump one-on-one. But there's so many states left that are not going to go for a guy like Cruz, I think. And so no, I think that bodes ill in Pennsylvania if you're with the Never Trump gang.
Oh, the Never Trump. You know what, Neil?
If you're a sane American, how about that?
Are you with me on this? That the Never Trump game can at times be as tedious and annoying as ardent Trump fans?
Yes, I think anything can be annoying after a sufficient amount of people have glommed onto it and run it into the ground. As with anything on Twitter, people just get carried away and they start hashtagging every tweet with Never Trump, Never Trump, Never Trump. Okay, I get it. You're Never Trump. I love the idea of Never Trump. I am firmly in the Never Trump camp. I refuse to vote if Trump is the nominee. I'm just not going to do it. Yeah, I get that, but it does annoy me that so many people latch onto it, and then it just becomes part of the noise. It's like a hashtag TCOT or whatever that you used to see all the time. It's just this meaningless little signaling device, and it doesn't actually mean anything. It allows people to drift and to start latching on to other ideas to bring in the Never Trump. Like a lot of the Ted Cruz people say that Never Trump really meant Never Ted. Now that's because Ted Cruz people are paranoid and have issues with trusting people and other human beings because they can't really read human emotions. It's a known problem in that campaign.
Plus, people suck.
Essentially. But they're going off of the example of their figurehead, Ted Cruz, who is one of the worst human beings alive. So they really I know. I'm sorry, Brent. I can't help it. But,
all right. Anyway.
So to swing it back here, Never Trump. Yeah, it became a little bit more like Never Ted or something like that, which is not what it was intended to be. Which is not what I was, advocating for it to be. But I still think it's a valid point to make, and I think if 3 million people decide to stay home on Election Day because of Never Trump, that's going to be significant. It could happen.
I think Never Trump became a lot like this campaign season overall, which is less about anything political and more about cults of personality. I mean, here we have an entire hashtag that becomes the focus of a campaign to the point where the media is covering it pretty much nonstop, and it becomes a frequent question at debates. I mean, we have a cult of personality behind Ted Cruz, a cult of personality behind Donald Trump. One develops around Marco Rubio. One was developed around Ben Carson until everybody realized he was, just selling lists and selling books,
right.
which incidentally explains why he's
be more charitable.
No. Just no. I mean, he's set to endorse Donald Trump, according to reports today. So clearly,
Never McMorris. Yes.
Never McMorris. That's perfect. Can we make that a thing?
Kids, this is actually true. Never. Aim higher.
Bill McMorris is not good people, but the Ben Carson book tour obviously continues to roll on because he's set on Friday to endorse Donald Trump, according to multiple reports now.
The guy who called him a pedophile or a child molester
said he was a child molester. Yeah, it was
said he had pathologies consistent with that of a child molester.
Yeah. Now that looks like a guy who I can endorse.
Right there.
Brent, as an accused child molester, did that rub you the right way or the wrong way?
It rubbed me every which way, Bill.
Is that why you're never trumping now?
Dude, I'm with you.
Good night, everybody. This is a great show. Good night. Show's over.
I am stunningly with Neil on this though. The Never Trump thing annoys the crap out of me. It's like we were talking about. It's just jumping from one bandwagon to another. Everybody hates the cult that kind of surrounds Trump. Well, instead we've got people all over Twitter. Either you're never Trump or you're against us. You know, we're compiling lists of who's involved in this and who isn't, and we're gonna. I actually saw people. We're gonna remember who didn't sign on to Never Trump. Screw you.
Oh, I think there definitely should be a list of people who aided and abetted the rise of Trump. I think that should definitely happen. Now, I don't think that there's going to be anything really to be done about that. We're not going to go door to door or anything like that. But I think that you should patronize those people with your clicks and your views, or not, based on how they acted in this election. Some people have shown some troubling comfort with fascism.
But I mean, we're not going to have that at all.
Others showed genuine concern for blue-collar voters who accessed the election by sitting out.
You have to evaluate those people on the individual merits, like Michael Brendan Dougherty, for instance. I don't think that he's a bad guy. I don't agree with him on everything that he's saying, and you know, frankly, I think something a little too far. But is he a Trumpkin? No, not in any way, shape, or form.
So Neil, you're calling to form a GOP Trust and Safety Council?
No,
that's pretty sweet.
It's called party discipline, Bill.
But you know, that's the thing is these people who have been supportive and have aided and abetted the rise of Trump, we want them to be punished. I mean, they're helping destroy, but they're not going to be. Is Breitbart.com going to lose any readership? No, they're not. Matt Boyle is going to get, a lifetime supply of lube from the Trump campaign. That's all there is to it.
Hannity, the press secretary in the
Hannity is co-hosting donkey shows where Trump is the donkey. And
my God, what has happened to this show?
Well, Leon will not show up anymore, and now he's paying for it.
So we had to raise the standards, actually.
So the actual mention of Donkey Show, please, for the love of God, to our 19 viewers, don't look that up.
I am absolutely ecstatic that within 15 minutes of us talking about how juvenile Rubio was, we descended into donkey shows.
I have been waiting for a long time to say that publicly. I already put it up on Twitter several days ago.
Self-awareness, my only friend. Haven't met you in a while.
No, look.
I didn't have a problem with Rubio going juvenile.
No,
I thought everyone's like, oh my God, that's what couldn't go on the poll. He wasn't going to win anyway. I didn't really see a problem with throwing a couple of bombs at the wall and seeing what happened. It didn't work out, but everyone's crying about it like he was going to win anyway. He wasn't going to.
After that debate...
You know what? If you try to throw a bomb at the wall, but you accidentally hold on to it too long, it doesn't really... It's not a worthwhile experiment.
It was like shooting a dying man in the head. Rubio was dead, regardless. Whatever.
But that debate also had an effect. I mean, Trump ended up losing the day of primary, the day of vote in Louisiana because of it. Rubio may have hurt himself, but he brought Trump down with him. Trump was a stuttering mess all throughout that debate, which is one of the reasons that Ted Cruz landed so many good shots against him in that debate.
He did.
Rubio may have hurt himself, but he brought Trump down with him. And Rubio showed that, yes, those attacks can work when you attack the right things. For example, Trump's penis and Trump's small hands.
I didn't really have a problem with the debate per se. It was the clown show comedy act at all of his rallies for the next week and a half.
I thought the debate was good as well. It was when he kept repeating the jokes. You know, the Twitter thing was funny.
Trump repeats jokes at every rally. I mean, everyone repeats at every rally. It's called a stump speech.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really blame him for that. But and the point was made earlier. That's what got cameras. That's what got people to broadcast his rallies for 5 minutes, and then when he finished the jokes, gone back. You know, once he would start with the jokes to get the attention, then let's talk about policy, because he actually has policies that he can explain.
I'll also briefly say I don't buy Rubio's thing about his children being embarrassed by it. His children are too young to get those jokes, so I don't think that actually happened.
No, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, the call and response he said to his crowds of, Donald Trump has a small penis. How small is it? It's so small, tiny hands. Like, those weren't very subtle.
But look, we're all laughing now.
But now, you remembered it.
But I remember it, and I think that's what he's going to regret.
And it's bringing us viewers because we went from 19 viewers to 20 when I said the words donkey show. So just keep that in mind.
Someone's ears were burning.
Now, guys, it's not all bad news out there. An avowed socialist just won Michigan. Brent, how dumb are children?
My children?
No, all children. Bernie's dominating the millennial vote.
Oh, well, technically I'm a millennial, but I'm like the very, very earliest since I was born in '81, so I try to say I'm not a millennial. I think that and I had actually had this conversation with somebody the other day, I think you can actually draw a fairly sharp distinction between the early millennials, the ones that were born in the 80s, and the ones that were born in the 90s. And the ones that were born in the 90s are the ones you're seeing, the late 80s, early 90s are these college idiots now, these safe space idiots. We that grew up in the 80s grew up with Transformer comics and shooting BB guns and cap guns and getting dirty and playing outside. These kids are more of the latchkey idiots. These are the kids that mommy and daddy just bought them a bunch of stuff and gave them whatever they wanted instead of paying attention to them because they were, they were running around, making money, which is a good thing. But you're seeing kind of the societal de-evolution of that whole generation. They're awful. The college-age kids now are awful. And normally I would say that the real world is going to slap them directly in the face. I don't know that it is, because the real world's not much smarter than the average college campus at this point, apparently, since Bernie Sanders just won Michigan. So
Joe, you have kids. It's so much easier to buy them stuff. That was the only question.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for talking about how we use millennials to stimulate the economy. That is really the best thing in the world, is that we are using the socialism of these millennials and their need to have everything to stimulate our own capitalistic society. So millennials are good for something in that sense. And I think furthermore, the one great thing that's come out from the Bernie Sanders movement is feeling the burn is no longer an STD thing only, and we have some really great internet memes that have come out from it.
Fair point. Mr. Retz?
Yeah.
Hillary is not going to lose this nomination.
No, they won't be allowed to happen.
Super delegates alone have guaranteed it. Bernie's got, 22? And Hillary has upwards of 500. She has basically a quarter of the delegates needed to clinch the nomination just through super delegates alone, despite the fact that she's gone 12-8 in terms of primary states. Does it still hurt turnout in the general, possibly even worse than nominating Trump would for, the Republican electorate? Just to lose this, she needs this young coalition that rallied behind Obama in order to deliver. If she loses the college-age kids, I mean, this could be gold for Mr. Trump, as everyone calls him.
It's funny. It's like this is going to be the Trump election, so that it'll be all of it. It's funny, even though Hillary Clinton's in it, like it will be, assuming it's between those two, which I hate assuming, but let's just say for argument's sake it is between those two. This will all be about Trump. I think you will either be for Trump or against Trump. Like in 2004, you were for Bush or against Bush, and in 2012, you were either for Obama or against Obama. The other candidates were kind of not great enough to rally around, and Hillary Clinton has proven herself to be a extremely uninspiring, untrustworthy, terrible candidate. So I think that turnout will be affected by how successfully, and I think the Democrats will do this successfully, how much they're able to portray Hillary as the solution to Donald Trump, who, as we stand today, is the worst favorability ratings in any poll ever of a national candidate who's running for national office. I believe he's 39 points underwater. So if they're able to effectively, and again I suspect they will because the Clinton war chest is impressive, portray Trump as probably effectively what he is, and make Clinton the antidote to that, I think that actually will offset all the many problems she has, because I think we ain't seen nothing yet once we get to this election and it gets around to stopping Trump and, as the medias want to do, help elect a Democrat.
Now, Neil, my phone is ringing. Talk away.
Okay. Well, what do I want to talk about? I think I've said my piece on Ted Cruz this evening. Maybe we could talk a little bit about John Kasich and what an asshole he is. What is his deal? Why does he think he is going to stay in here just because of Ohio? Does he really think he's even going to win Ohio? I don't think people like him very much in Ohio. From what I understand, people in Ohio say they're disgusted by his phony baloney act on the national stage here because while he's this guy who comes on stage and says, let's all hug and talk about Jesus and everything like that, back home in Ohio, from what I understand, he is a cynical bastard who hates life and everything in it. Joe, your thoughts?
I utterly despise John Kasich and everything he stands for, and as a millennial, the fact that my dad would consider voting for him is enough of a reason for me to not ever consider voting for him. That's just the general millennial coming out in me.
It's crazy. In Virginia, my mom, she voted for Rubio, but it was between Rubio and Kasich. And I didn't understand how that happened.
It's because people genuinely think that he is the adult in the room when they look at him on stage. And the fact of the matter is he really comes off as little more than a coward. He doesn't want to hit Trump. He doesn't want to attack anybody. He just wants to say that he's above it all. By the way, make me a power player at the convention.
Do you think perhaps, Brent, do you think perhaps that Kasich's appeal is more that he is not Ted Cruz?
Well,
Do you think there's any merit to that?
Absolutely not. To back up just a second, I hate to disagree with you, but I'm going to have to here. If you look at the RCP average for polls, Kasich is only 2.5 points behind Trump right now in the latest polls. They've got Trump at 36.5 and Kasich at 34. So I've heard the same thing you did, that he's not that well liked, that he's an ornery, cynical, mean, dirty bastard.
Hate social conservatives.
Yeah.
Hate
so apparently
social conservatives.
Yeah. Apparently they like that in Ohio. I think he actually kind of came out a week, 2 weeks ago, and made comments essentially that he's just hanging on for the convention in the hopes of a brokered convention, and that he can slide in that way, which is got to be really inspiring to all of his donors and to the people that he's trying to get to vote for him. I can't actually win without the brokered convention, which hasn't happened in God knows how long, much longer than
76.
Yeah. Well,
Reagan Ford.
But just briefly say about John Kasich is you guys might have had the same experience, but I have had way too many liberal friends say, that's the one Republican I could see myself voting for.
Yeah,
I'm like, you would
They
never
never
vote
mean
for
it.
him, and that is the most unattractive quality I think a Republican can have, is if one of you Daily Show watching morons thinks that he's the best Republican candidate.
And that's the beautiful
Never
thing
know,
about this
just think that
campaign.
it was so funny.
That's the beautiful thing about this campaign is we have liberals saying that they will vote for John Kasich, and then they go out and actually vote in a crossover for Donald Trump. The liberals and the Democrats are really deciding our election for us. Yay, go team!
Can we
You know what though? If Kasich was the man that Donald Trump shot on Fifth Avenue, I would vote for him. I mean, like there is something to be said for that.
Can we please at this point close our primaries? What possible reason is there for an open primary? How does that benefit anybody?
It gets you a guy like Ted Cruz if you have too many close primaries, I will say.
Or
that.
Todd Aiken. Todd Aiken was flooded with cash from the Democrats who wanted to pick their opponent. Right. And that's actually something. And Brent, if you want to elaborate on it, I'll stick with you since you joined a little late. Trump always talks about how he is expanding the base, and I do believe he's expanding the base. He's winning. Catholic Democrats who are basically made up the Reagan Republicans, have actually turned out for him in droves. Everyone talks about evangelicals. Trump is winning, as the Federalist pointed out, about 40% of all Catholic voters. And a great degree of the support is coming from the traditional union, blue-collar Catholic vote that always votes Democrat.
Right.
But how much of this vote, do you think it's a significant amount of people, in a state like South Carolina, where Hillary Clinton is guaranteed to win? I mean, how likely is it that people are just opening up switching their registration and casting a vote for Trump just to screw up Republicans. I don't put it beyond Hillary, do you?
No,
I can say it.
no, I don't. And I was actually having this conversation probably about 2 weeks ago with Brandon Finnegan from the Decision Desk. And one of the problems with Trump pulling in so many Democrats, and I think he is pulling in a decent number, a sizable number, is the down ticket races. Because they're not going to vote, these Democrats are not going to vote Trump and then vote Republican down the line in the local, municipal, statewide elections. He actually may destroy the down ticket vote, and while Trump could win the presidency, he could also then flip, maybe not the House, we've got a pretty sizable lead there, but he could definitely screw up the Senate. He could screw up state legislatures, state governorships. It's a possibility that we could see a big swing going down, down ticket, because he is expanding the base. It's one of the many, many reasons that I hate Donald Trump.
Now, Neil, do you is this a legitimate fear for you? I actually don't think we're going to lose the Senate, and that's the shame of nominating Trump, is because Trump will be making 3 judicial appointments without.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll lose the Senate this year, but certainly we would lose it pretty darn quick, I think, especially if guys like me abandon the Republican Party because they're disgusted that it would nominate someone like Donald Trump to be president. If there's not a place for the GOP for someone like myself, why would I continue to vote down ticket? Unless I was particularly enthused about taking time out of my day to go vote for Senate races. Most people won't do that. They'll just say, "Oh, Trump. Well, GOP is not for me. Bye." So I don't think we'll lose the Senate right away, but I think it would happen within a couple cycles. We would lose the Senate. The House, we'll hold on to the House, I think, for the foreseeable future. But Senate, very much in doubt. And once we lose the Senate, we're back to basically stalemate, which I suppose is the best possible outcome. Divided government for another 4 years, 8 years.
Yeah, but it's not really divided. The Republicans, especially in the House, roll over and show everybody their bellies as soon as push comes to shove. We've seen that when it was divided previously.
Well, let's not go over all the initiatives that the Obama White House wanted to pass that the Republican Congress did not allow to come to fruition. And let's just assume that you are correct about that. Okay, well, so let's not elect Trump. What are we going to do about it?
I mean, Rutz, shifting to you, this is actually one of the great ironies, to me at least, is the fact that the Republicans recognize quite correctly in the House and the Senate that, hey, of course we're not going to overturn Obamacare. We're not going to, get the laws that we want. But thankfully, 2016 is coming. We have such a deep bench. I'm talking GOP in 2014, 2015. We have guys like Perry and Jindal and Rubio and Cruz and Walker. And surely, the second they're elected, all we have to do is hold steady. And the second we elect one of our genius young conservatives, that's when we get everything we want. And the base sat there and revolted right in their faces, because the base was convinced by people on talk radio that, hey, the Republicans, rolled over the second they were given a chance. And see, Brent, I get that. I get that critique when it comes to, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act and how it played out in states that could actually pass them. But Rutz, I don't know. Do you see the irony? Do you think that this was kind of the GOP-controlled House and Senate's approach was 2016, we're going to be all right, and that's when we'll do everything. So right now we just have to hold steady and do nothing inoffensive to jeopardize that?
Yeah, I think you kind of summarized it about as well as you could. I think also the idea that this was like some amazing field was obviously an overrated field. I mean, I think it was improved compared to 2012, which was obviously a complete, unqualified disaster and that kind of a thing. But this field was never as good as everyone thought it was. That's one main thing I think people shouldn't forget. If a guy like Donald Trump could come in and clear the field like he did. Yeah, I think it's the sins are coming home to roost a little bit. I think that enough of the people in the base were frustrated that the sweep happens in 2014. The Republicans seize the Senate. Obama looks neutered, and what does he do? He passes the Iran nuclear deal. He goes through with immigration executive actions. He goes, he opens things with Cuba. He just seems to keep winning, and look at it now. He has a 50% approval rating, and the Republican Party is on fire. So I mean, that was the end result of this, but I think there was the frustration that Obama just kept seeming to succeed, even though the Republicans just seemed helpless to stop him. And yeah.
So what you're saying is that Obama was doing so much winning that the Republican base got sick of winning.
His winning, yes. His winning, yes. I mean, the Planned Parenthood fight is another example. Another bit of failure theater by the GOP. That's a slam dunk for the base. I mean, this is abortion. These are fetal body parts. What does the GOP do? They botched it so badly, Planned Parenthood's approval rating went up with that awful hearing that they held. I mean, they just, they kept fouling things up. I mean, the Iran nuclear deal, another bit of failure theater. I mean, they can't win for losing. So the frustration makes sense to a certain extent.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And yet Neil is the one who's going to leave the GOP over Trump. Doesn't it make more sense to leave the GOP over its rampant, ridiculous forfeiting it's been doing?
Well, I mean, that was a good reason. This is a better reason. I mean, it just adds, compounds on itself. So get past a certain point, you got to go.
All right. Lightning round. Joe, what do you rename the party? The Federalist listserv had a great time with this. The third party that the establishment, the e-cabal that we've been running, has to create. What do you call it, Joe?
Great Balls of Fire.
Oh, that was terrible. Brent, what do you call the new party?
I'm gonna steal this one from my podcast host. She's fond of this. It is the Read the Fucking Bill, You Motherfucking Motherfuckers. Because nobody in Congress apparently reads any bill that gets passed. Nobody knows what the fuck's in the bill. So, my party is Read the Fucking Bill, You Motherfucking Motherfuckers.
And how does that appear on the ticket? Is it Ritterfum?
Yes, exactly.
I could go for that. Vote Ritterfum 2020. Rats, what do you rename the party?
On the spot. I have no idea. The Conservative Fire Party. I don't know. It's terrible.
CFP. CFP. I can get behind that.
CFP.
Burn it all down. No. Fire Party seems like, what the Trump breakaways will name it. Scorched Earth. Fire and Brimstone.
Maybe the Mr. Trump Party.
That sounds like millennial slang to me. Fire party. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I have a feeling we just walked right into a gay orgy euphemism.
And they could have meetings on Fire Island.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yes, and Mr. Miller. What do you rename the party?
I've heard a lot of people throwing this one around. Wolverines, like Red Dawn.
Nice.
I think that might be a good one. So I would probably wuss out though and just rename it like the Federalist Party or something like that. Just because that would probably be really good for the website's traffic.
That's nice plug.
Yeah. See, I mean, there's so much stuff you could do, and I feel like you guys are just kind of going off the top of your heads, mostly because I didn't give anyone any notice that I'd be asking this. But I feel like a Dave Attell approach would be good. Dave Attell always said he wanted to buy a boat and name it Pizza Pussy Sandwich because everyone likes one of those things. and I feel like the GOP could really do that. We'd be an across-the-board, triangulation, if you will, of the foreign policy wing, the social wing, and the libertarian wing. Do you guys think the triangulation can be recaptured by forming a new party?
So we could be like the God, Guns, and Freedom Party?
Yeah. God, Guns, and Freedom Party? I'd vote for that.
in Europe they've had the rise of the pirate party, the people who support the Pirate Bay. I think that we should take that name, but actually be about real piracy, like straight up, like we go into our own convention on actual pirate ships. Like the logo is not a donkey or an elephant; it is a legit Jolly Roger. And I think we would probably do very well there. The alternative is we just co-opt a party that's already there. I would go with none. Let's just co-opt none or independent because there's already a natural base there that we can just kind of throw ourselves onto and just co-opt them from the inside.
So you're going
Can I just
fraternity way.
break a little bit of quick news for you, by the way?
Hit us.
So Reince Priebus is apparently addressing the audience at the GOP debate and had to assert again the party is going to support the nominee, whoever that is, 100%. You know it's good news when you keep having to say that the party's going to have to support its nominee, and you keep having to make that clear. Great shape.
That is the dreaded vote of confidence right there.
Yeah, it's like when the general manager's like, we have total faith in Coach Carter.
Coach,
He's fired the next day.
Yeah.
What a nightmare.
Or when the 40-year-old relief pitcher shows up to camp and you go like, this guy's in the best shape of his life. That's baseball. Anyway, guys.
Before I leave, can I report one more bit of good news regarding college kids and how?
Yeah, I was actually about to say, you get the final word, David. Go.
The last thing I'm going to say is this is from National Review, and you know the University of Missouri went absolutely out of their minds this year, pretending that all of a sudden there was a racial crisis. So apparently the chancellor has written a letter to the university community saying, we project a very significant budget shortfall due to an unexpected sharp decline in first-year enrollments and student retention. The anticipated declines total about 1,500 fewer students than current enrollment at Missouri. Ha!
Straight fire. I love it.
You deserve it, Missouri. You deserve it for letting every psycho take over and enabling those pathetic people. So good, I revel in their sadness.
All right, so we should nominate whoever drafted that policy to be president, right?
Drafted the policy?
Yeah, to defund Mizzou. That guy should be that guy gets a convention spot. All right, last question. Who is more unemployable come 2017? More unemployable. Is it Mike Murphy or Reince Priebus? Brent, after you.
Mike Murphy. He's got the longer history of fuckery.
Rutz?
I agree, Mike Murphy. You don't get to put on your resume, I burned $150 million, and my guy came in 6th place.
It sounds worse when you say it out loud. Neil?
It was really bad.
I'm gonna go with Reince just because it seems to me that nothing really actually kills the career of one of these political consultants. They just keep on coming back like roaches.
Joe?
Considering that Mike Murphy is the name of one of my best friends, and you can find his fantastic wooden jewelry on the website diamondsareevil.com, I'm going to say that Reince Priebus is definitely more unemployable because I would like for my best friend, Mike Murphy, not the other Mike Murphy that you guys were talking about, to remain employed.
Fantastic. Well, with that, we are going to close out. Thank you so much, David Rutz from the Washington Free Beacon for coming on. Thank you for Brent Cochran for coming on. Thank you for Neil Dewing for coming on. Thank you for Joe Cunningham for coming on. I am Leon Wolf. Just kidding. He didn't get more handsome. I'm Bill McMorris from the Washington Free Beacon. Let's go watch a shitty debate.
Should we close with a pledge to Trump, or okay?
Yeah, it's actually just, no, don't do that. We're gonna gift that.
Goodbye,
We're
everybody.
still live.
All right, thanks for being on.
All right, later, guys.